Good evening to all of you. If you're watching me for the first time, I will ask that you hit on the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. If you're watching from YouTube, hit on the subscribe channel. If you're watching me from Facebook, share the video and also be a subscriber. So every time we drop a video, you'll be the first person to hear and to also get the gist of it. Today we're going to talk about the changes the Ministry of Education has made. No, the Ministry of Immigration. They've made some changes and it is good that you hear about it. I know I'm not really sure how many times you've heard it, but I am going to say it again. In the past couple of months, there's been a lot of displays in the public of Toronto and many other cities in Ontario, all around Canada. In fact, Halifax, I've heard a lot of those displays outside. And what does it mean to you? Canada, as it may be, they sort of take in consideration of the well-being of everybody, whether you're a citizen, immigrant, or PR holder, no matter who you are, if you are a tourist, whatever, as long as you enter into Canada, the government actually looks at your well-being and how you'll be comfortable living or visiting. So due to those displays in the public domain, a lot of changes has been made. And what are those changes? The changes to student visa. Student visa. Now, on the street of Toronto, there has been a couple of homeless people. And those homeless people were who? Students who proved to the Canadian immigration that they have an accommodation, because in order for you to even get into the country as a student, you must have shown all documentations that you are coming to study and you have enough funds, and as soon as you finish your study, you're going back to your country. So if you had done all that, I don't know why a lot of people marched on the street. They took it to the street that there is no accommodation. I'm not really sure if the public got the message wrong to say that those students are here in mind that $500 was enough for rent. Was it because the accommodation has gone up, or because there was no accommodation? There was nowhere for people to stay. In fact, I saw one listing of someone wanting to share a bed. There was an accommodation listed on one of the marketing place for someone who's looking for a roommate and a roommate to share a bed. This is how far accommodation in the city has gone. So was it not because the students are coming here not having accommodation, but it is because the living expenses has gone up. So they went on the street because they couldn't find any place within their budget to stay. Was it a good news? Was it a good thing? Was it blessing? Do they think the government was going to have pity on them and not change the rules? I don't know. But the government also, again, Canada being Canada, they actually wants to make sure that everyone's well-being is addressed and everything else is ding-dong. So this is some of the changes that you are going to see. This is some of the changes that the ministry has put together. Individuals, students will now have to prove they have a Canadian $20,635 in available funds on top of the amount they need to pay for tuition. And it is exclusive to any fees for other family members coming with them to Canada. This is more than double the amount that students are required to have in savings now. So basically what is happening, because people, when it was on the news during the summertime, that a lot of immigrants, a lot of people, because first of all, they were having difficulties getting accommodation. people were having difficulties getting accommodation. So a lot of people claimed asylum, which is a refugee. A lot of students that came here, if you can get a work permit claiming a refugee versus being a student and suffering, so people took the other way to claim refugee. This actually reflected in a system where the Canadian government says, well, you know what, if you came here to, you know, educate yourself in hope to get back to your country and be something that will help your country, why are you claiming asylum in the first place? That's the question. Also, if you prove to us, the immigration officers, maybe we didn't take it into consideration that things has gone up. So before, students have to have proof of fund, $10,000. Okay, proof of fund, and this is exclusive to any family members that you may be coming with them. So now that you've made so much noise, and let me tell you something, it was none other but Africans. In fact, a lot of Africans. It was none other but Africans. And the reason is that our community is not that rich in this part of the world. Our community is not that connected. So when a lot of people whom I even had some contacting, the family members who promised them accommodation changed their mind. I don't know why. So these are some of the reasons why it's not your fault. These are some of the reasons why students ended up on a street and made so much noise that the Canadian government, so these are the effect. Everything, every noise, every error, any incident, anything that happens, any event, it changes a law in this part of the world. Everything, everything that, but I'm gonna, again, as we're talking, what does it mean to you, a Ghanaian, a Nigerian, a Ugandan, or somebody who is coming new after January 1st? So if you are actually processing your visa after January 1st, this law goes for you. What does it mean for you? This is why I'm here, okay? What does it mean for someone who is not processing the application today or up until the 31st of December, but you don't have everything until January somewhere? This law is for you. So let's say you are going to process your application December 31st. You don't have to prove $26,000, $20,600. No. But if you have to process your application after January 1st, I don't know, immigration officers, whatever the process they take to ensure a date stamped. So when they stamped your application received before January 1st, 2024, this law does not go for you. So what does it mean to people who are processing their application after 2023? If you're processing your application, student visa, right now, a proof of fund, which used to be around $10,000 that a lot of people couldn't afford, is now $20,635. This is the Canadian law, okay? And that doesn't include, let's say you want to come, a lot of my Nigerian brothers and sisters, they like to come with their children and husbands. Okay, so that is extra. So it means that whatever changes that happens in the system, it actually reflects in our laws, our ways that we actually commute and live in this part of the world. So if you've made the noise and you told the government that, oh, you came here and no accommodation because your people did not receive you, this is the result. You're talking about Canada here. So after January 1st, on January 1st, if you process your application, what it means to you is that if you don't know anybody, if you have no accommodation, because they're looking at your living expenses, including food and miscellaneous, all of that, is what amounts up to be 20,000 for the 1 year. So let's say your course is 2 years or 3 years. You're going to have to come up with double of that. Now, let's say you don't know anybody, then my brother, my sister, you're going to have to really cough out over $20,000 in order for you to be granted. First of all, remember the changes they made to how student visa, student admission letter is provided to the one who is applying to schools. Effective December, that also changed. The schools, remember that the schools are no longer, whether you apply to the school yourself, whether anybody applied to the school for you, the schools are not sending you directly the admission letter. They're going to send it to immigration direct. Immigration then going to take their own process. Effective, that one took place in December. Immigration now is going to take their own process to verify a proof of funds, proof of that, your academic proof, your academic, how did you even get to be approved for the programs? So this means, you know, the private schools that gave a lot of student admission letters, it's not just the Africans who went on the street. It is because of the Indians that came here with a lot of fraudulent schools, which was registered in my home. Some people registered a school in their home, and they get a thing. There's a lot of Islamic schools in this part of the world, private schools in this part of. So those private schools belong to a small group of people. Academically, it's not something that measures up to get even a job from some other places. So the thing is that also affected the way visas are being processed. So aside from the minister changing the laws and the rules around student study permit, how your admission letter is given to you has also changed. So let's say you don't know anybody in this part of the world, then you have to again find some find $20,000, $20 and more $1,000. Now, for private schools, it means that a lot of people are not going to be able to come, because the private schools sometimes do not look at certain things that the immigration may be looking for. They may ask you for your past certificates. They may ask you, and those certificates has to have a standard in order, the prerequisite, those prerequisitional courses, the requisite course that would allow you to be able to even qualify for the course that you're coming for. Those things are going to be looked at. Okay? So, in the essence, it means that if you don't know anybody in this part of the world, you have to now justify how you would be able to look after yourself. You need to prove accommodation. First of all, the immigration is not going to now look at, I'm gonna call her back, sweetheart. Sorry about that. Immigration is not going to now look at, you have A's and you have that and you have no. The major problem that the Canadian government faced in 2022 and 2023 was a surge of students in the country but could not even go to school. In fact, York University registered one course over 260 something students from Africa. Only 3 showed up to the class. So all these things was reported, and when the government says they are working with partners, they will be working with all institutions, meaning that there are laws that are going to now the institutions are now going to now receive a requirement from the government. There are certain requirements that the institutions must meet in order for them to even process or give admission to a student. Do you understand what I'm saying? I really want this to sink in, because a lot of people, just so you don't waste your money from the beginning, make sure you have everything, because we're going to go through that. Make sure you have all you need before you even apply, before you pay any fee. Because if not, a school may give you admission. The school is not going to now send you the letter anymore. The school sends the letter to the immigration. Now, the immigration has 2 laws that has been changed. How the admission letter, as well as what you need in order for you to be qualified to be granted a visa to enter. Because a lot of students that came in here could not go to the school. Now, remember that back in the days before COVID, students were not even, the reason why we didn't have much students in the country, students were not even allowed to work over 20 hours. It was only during COVID and after COVID that a lot of people, workers were needed to occupy a certain positions. That's why we have the LMIA, the Labor Market Impact Assessment, whatever impact assessment, LMIA. Okay, so because of a lot of jobs openings and people were not filling it, the government has to again fill that gap. So they allow students to work and give them over 400 hours per week. No, 40 hours per week. We all work 40 hours per week. Anything else after that, you have to be paid overtime. It is your own preference, like Ghana is trying to bring incentives for people who like to work overtime and over the hours that is required in a day. So after COVID, they gave people, and that is the only reason why you see a lot of students, and don't think it's going to continue. Al-Hassan, welcome. Don't think it's going to continue. So this is what it means to you. It means that if the minute you start to look for schools in Canada, you need to make sure that you are going to get, because if not, you're going to lose monies that perhaps you've paid to the institutions. Because of that, remember, because of that, the institutions are also going to lose customers. So the student, you are everybody's target now. The schools are now going to impose a deposit because they need money. You see, the room you take for admission, you are part of a possible student, a potential student for the school. So let's say your decision comes late. They've just lost a student. They lost a whole class. A seat is empty. So remember that there's a lot of things that is going to be changed after January 1st, 2024. So as a student, pay attention. Some schools are going to require you to pay. Remember before this one, schools don't need you to pay, just the 500. Some schools you pay in after you arrive in Canada. You have to pay when you arrive in Canada. The schools, because of the government imposing these laws, the schools are now also going to look for money, some ways. You think, so you, the students, are the targets right now. Make sure that before you pay for any school for deposit, because some of these deposits, schools may come up with the rules like a percentage is not refundable. Pay attention to that. Also pay attention to how much you need. First of all, this is a government law. They are the one approving your visa. If they are the one approving your visa, remember that you have to meet the requirement for the visa. So make sure you have the requirement for the visa before you proceed to your next action. If not, you're going to lose money because you have to pay for visa fee and all those things. If you pay it, now you lose the money because you lose. Another thing is that what does it mean to most of our African students who is not privileged of having a lot of money, but only dependent on the visa study permit to come and work, and also to help out with the tuition fee? What does it mean to you? This means the $20,000, you may not necessarily have it. It means that you are going to have to find someone. You are going to have to find someone who can accommodate you in Canada. Where are your lost uncle? Your brother? This is the time you need to be packaging some ajene, some ogbono, something, and mail it and DHL, and to come and reconnect and network with your uncles, your sisters who lives in this part of the world, because they are the only people that can accommodate you, can guarantee your accommodation. So, number one, make sure that at least you have a backup accommodation to prove it. The person may have to give you their own assess, like, you know, I'll answer the call later. I will call you Nkwansa. Kwabena. That means, oh, later. If I answer this call, my video will be. That means Kweku Kwansa has to agree to accommodate you for $200 per month or $0 per month. You attach it to your application. Listen to me, okay? Because immigration is the only thing in this part of the world. The laws are not to punish you. The laws are to negotiate and work with you and see where your strength is. So it's not that they've made the law and the law and the law. No, it's only in a black country that people who want to be wicked to you hide behind the law. So keep in mind, you need to know somebody in a country you are going, like Canada. It is Canada who has made the law. So you need to know. And the reason why they are raising the bar to the amount is this amount, it includes accommodation. I want for I'll get. This amount includes accommodation, and the accommodation is around, they've actually capped it at $1,000, $1,100 if you look at the way it was calculated. So it means that you have to have the family member willing to show their bank account, willing to show their work history, willing to show to the immigration that yes, indeed, they are going to accommodate you. That actually cut down a chunk of money from what you are required to show. Keep in mind also that when you are applying for a school in Canada, it's not necessarily how much money you can come up with, but how much wealth you have. Because a lot of students are here, 19 years old, don't have money. They are 19 years old. In fact, they are international students who are 10 years old. They are 10 years old international students in Canada. In fact, in my school, schools that I've worked at, international student, a grade 5 student, like a 10, 11-year-old student who was paying $16,000 for that term. And a term starts from September to June. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 8 months. For 8 months, the student was paying $16,000. It was not a college. It was not a university. It was elementary school. Guys, $16,000 for elementary school. In fact, with the Toronto District School Board, if you don't have a study permit, your parent don't have study permit, and they don't have a work permit, the child has to pay. So they are 19-year-old, 16-year-old. They don't have a bank account. They are not working. So who is going to sponsor them? Their parent, of course. It is equally to you at 23, 20. In fact, Canadian law, as a child who is being looked after by one of their parents paying child support, that child received child support up until they finish school, up until the age 23. So let's say you are 20-something, your parents are the sponsors. Let's say you are 40-year-old. You can have a church who is a sponsor. You can have a school who is a sponsor. Your job who is a sponsor. So there are so many people who can sponsor you. Okay? There are so many people who can sponsor you. It doesn't mean that, it is you who has to prove your own bank account. No. If you have a parent who has a good business back home, they can show as a sponsor. They must prove they have that money. They must prove they have that money. Cecilia, whatever, whoever, you know, some of these, there's so much money in Ghana. The only thing is that it is with some people, only a few people, okay? It is with only a few people. So it is, if you can find somebody to sort of sponsor your school and the person can guarantee, there may be a requirement now for that person. I don't know if Canadian immigration would open a trust funds, because there are something called trust funds. If I am immigration, Canada immigration, I will have that one. A wicked black woman. A trust funds. And what that trust funds is that a trust fund is, I don't know if they will come up with that. Trust fund is when you pay money into a government's account and you actually request for the money when you meet a certain requirement. Isn't that, this country is so, they have everything down packed. They have everything down. Oh, I'm on for me, but I'll join the call later. Hey. So they have everything down packed. And one of the things is that they may be and also remember, this thing is only up until the year 2025, the new changes. Okay, so let us cause effect. Let us cause, as an African, as a student around the world, you must cause a change that works in your favor. Don't cause a change that works against you. And this is what the students did. Those who went on the streets of Toronto, Canada, and made their secret known that they didn't have accommodation, it is because they all packed themselves in a city of Ontario. And Ontario is not the only province in Canada. I know certain places that are a little bit cost effective, so you can go to those provinces. But now, we have now washed our dirty linen outside, and now it has affected and it went against the students, especially African students. Remember, there are countries with a lot of money. If a student is coming from Dubai to learn something, or India, they are coming with a lot of money. By the time they get here, an account is open. Royal Bank, Scotia Bank, or some bank, the same day they come into the country, they are opening an account. Their parents are wiring money. They can justify the money. So the money comes into the account. So some Indians that comes here, the money is in the account in their own name. So it's not the same thing. So it went against you people who went on the street and made everybody, the whole Canada, realize that, hey, bang, bang, students are here. And Canada spoke a very, very bad about the way student visa was being processed, basically. So it went against our students. My fellow Ghanaians, my fellow Africans, please take care of yourselves. I hope you found this video helpful for your future study permit applications. Again, I'm looking for a swagger. I'll get the name right. There's this immigration consultant helping a lot of people from Africa, and they are doing very well. The only thing is that we managed to find an African to interpret it, because there are certain dialects and a certain accent that you may not understand. There are a lot of people who don't understand my English as well, and that is fine. And I hope you find someone in your own country to also translate this video to you. And kudos to you all who are able to understand what I just spoke about. I hope this video served you right. Kwabena Kwansa, I dey wait for you in Toronto, Canada. I think you should buy a ticket that sees you and drops you in Toronto, so I can slap you, and before I ship you off to Alberta or Edmonton, whichever province you came from, I will send some of these students to your home, and you'll be a wicked man if you don't receive them. It's so painful that you are not in a country when all these things are happening. I would have sent a lot of people. If you didn't understand, Misty, why are you still here? I don't understand you. If you didn't understand, Misty, like who stays there? Then I must be very pretty. You are just looking at me. I must be very, very pretty to just stare at something you don't even understand. You are back. The man is back. You are back. You couldn't stay in Ghana. You could not. The money I sent you, you finish it, right? It went into the mud and the dust. Bless you, my people, and I hope this one serves you right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Eraba. Is it Eradaba Nana? Is it Akoria the second? What a powerful name, my brother. What a powerful name. Akoria the second. Powerful name. This is it. I'll call you later, my brother. Have a lovely day and share the video. Thank you very much.